Hi guys. Hello. It's swapped over. Did you make your face shot or were you not ready?
I did. It was in there.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Eye of the Storm. We got with me Broken Tangent to my right and Kubie and Shot down there. And we all have party hats on because it's Blizzard's anniversary. Woo woo.
Woo woo.
Shot, please. Oh my god.
Come on.
So welcome. Just to give you guys a little background about this little show that we have going on here is we want to discuss with you how to play Heroes of the Storm. We're all veterans of the game since alpha. Are you guys since alpha or?
Yeah,
Beta for me.
Technical alpha.
Yeah,
Technical
it's technical alpha.
Technical
alpha, right? Get it right.
So we'll be going over some basic strategies for you guys to make sure we just do this as easy as possible and help you guys start from scratch. And we're just going to talk over everything that we have learned over the past few years playing HOTS. So let's see. So I introduced you guys. We got Broken Tangent. He was a previous animator on Here's the Storm team. He animated Blaze, Sylvanas recall animation, Zagara recall animation, all that jazz. Tangent, if you want to say anything, I know I gave you an introduction, but if you want to say anything.
Yeah, shoot. I was working on Heroes for 4 years. Primary animator on Blaze. Been playing HOTS since 2014. Does that sound about right for the beta, roughly?
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in there. And then just doing my thing. Still trying to learn this game. I will say I'm still silver rank though. Forever caught in that silver.
Uh-oh.
You know it.
Uh-oh.
I'm not ashamed. I'll say it.
All right, and then we have Kubie to the right of Tangent. Kubie, go ahead. Tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Kubie. I'm the coach for No Tomorrow, and yeah, I've been playing since Technical Alpha, so
Nice.
that's really all I got to say.
And then Shot. Shot, what do you
Hello.
do? Why are you so blue?
My lighting is fantastic. Couldn't be better. I'm Shot. I am an ex-competitor in Heroes of the Storm. Right now I'm not competing because I'm looking for stable career choices. Competing's great, but I can't fulfill it fully all the way unless I have monetary gain. So I'm currently looking for work, but I'm an ex-competitor. I won Dorm 2016 and I did a bunch of stuff. That's me. Hi.
You did stuff. The thing is, we know how to play the game.
Good
kind
stuff.
of.
Good stuff.
So.
Oh, I was a professional for a while before HGC started. XD. So before it counted, I was a pro.
Okay, so let me see. I'm new to this, guys, so I have like a full like spreadsheet of like what I want to talk about, but I still don't know what I want to talk about. So I might throw up. So no, I'm not gonna get sick. I'm not gonna get sick, but
Not on stream.
not on stream. Not on stream.
It's a good opener.
Okay, so just to celebrate Blizzard's their 3-year anniversary, we're gonna talk about some like memories maybe you guys have playing the game, and what your favorite heroes are, and all that mushy jazz, all that stuff. For me, it was going to BlizzCon for the first time, meeting everybody, meeting all the animators and everybody that worked on, my absolute favorite game, and being able to actually stream for Blizzard now is just absolutely amazing. My favorite hero is Sylvanas, as you guys all know. And then Tangent, what about you guys?
Man, for me, so I first played it, I want to say BlizzCon 2015, and I tried to play Thrall, and I got murdered. I didn't understand the whole concept of team play at all. I was playing it like Warcraft 3, and I was like, hey, I got these powers, I'm just going to go down this one lane and destroy everybody. And I learned quick when my team was yelling at me to team up that I was doing this game wrong. So I went back, and I actually fell in love with Meriden and that sweet, sweet stun hammer he has. And once I figured out how to escape with the leap and everything, I was full blown into HOTS.
Oh.
Didn't really got me into the game.
Okay, Kubie?
I think my favorite memory, I used to, before they got rid of Duo, that base.
Before they got rid of what?
Duo.
Oh, Duo Q.
That's
I
low
used to-
flame thrown.
I used to have a friend that I played with, and we would play Johanna Asmodan every game.
That's toxic.
Nice.
It is. It is, but it was fun. But my favorite hero is Taronda.
Oh, really?
Nice.
Yep, she is still my favorite and my best hero.
She's getting a lot of action in Silver these days.
So
She's coming back, you're saying.
She's coming back, yes.
Don't call it a comeback.
All right, Shot, go ahead.
So I've been playing since Anubarak was released in Technical Alpha. Technically slightly before that, but I was still into League of Legends, so I wasn't really in Heroes. I know.
Yeah.
League.
Now you're really gonna make me throw up.
I converted over to the Church of Rhaegar, so that's fine.
Church of Rhaegar.
But I guess one of my favorite memories over the years is probably going to PAX West as Cognitive Gaming to play against Tempo Storm, Cloud9, and all the other European teams. To be fair, we had to go up against Tempo Storm round 1, so we didn't even get to play against the European team. But we almost beat Tempo. But it was really cool to hang out with everybody and get to know personalities in the scene and just really make lifelong friends that I can still say that I can call them up and have a chat whenever and they won't reject me.
Yeah. I actually,
Awesome.
I gotta say something. So when I said I wanted to bring back a memory that I remembered that was most memorable from playing Here's the Storm, I totally blanked and just made up an excuse. But but my actual favorite memory is everybody knows that I love Sylvanas, and BlizzCon last year they did the Warcraft cinematic, and when Sylvanas came on the screen, I went nuts, and then I immediately got a million Twitter DMs saying, Kagirii, did you say Sylvanas? Kagirii! And then I got a few that said for the Alliance and like whatever, F you and that. But it was so cool that so many people knew how much I love Sylvanas that like it was just it was the best moment ever. I felt so awesome. All right, so we are actually going to get into the content of the stream. I'm sweating like a storm. Like an eye of the storm.
Sweats of the storm.
So we just want to get into basic game knowledge that everyone should know when getting into HOTS. It basically encompasses the actual like, you know, what you're supposed to do with your teammates to help you reach the core, to help you get more that push of experience, to help you get those ultimates before your enemy team, which is everything that you know Here's the Storm is about, is teamwork. And I don't see a lot of that in my games, unfortunately. Everybody, instead of, you know, as you guys know, instead of people collaborating and say, hey, this is our situation, here's 2 options that I think we can do, what do you guys think? Everybody's like, don't do that, that's stupid. Or, you know, it's very not teamwork oriented. So what we want to get into is, the first thing is importance of soaking lanes, when to push out your lane, always looking at the mini map, just everything there. Do you guys have anything you guys are looking at the document. So when you're, I think the one thing that you said, Tangent, you wrote in here, is everybody goes in the middle to fight first. Is that bad or good?
And let me tell you, I was like, when I first started playing HOTS, I didn't quite understand the whole middle lane. Everyone goes in and does the team fight, or fighting for that middle, that point of view objective where you can actually see the whole map. I didn't quite understand it, so I just kind of followed the leaders, so to speak. But I'm curious more from the professional side is going down that middle lane, always the strat to do? Is that what you always want to do, or is it good to sometimes split up depending on what your composition you have?
It's typically if your composition can win a level 1 fight, you can run it down mid and just try to find somebody.
Okay, out of place or something.
Yeah, like if you have like a pick comp, say like old school, if you had like ETC Tyrande comp, and like you just walk into mid lane, somebody oversteps slightly, boom, they're instantly dead. They can't even fight back. But if you have a composition that's like slow damage or relatively like they scale well into the late game and aren't very good in the early game, you can just split up and go instantly to lanes. It's basically how good is your comp? Do you even want to fight? Are you going to be giving stacking quests to the enemy? Is that worth it to you? But typically in Hero League, people just like to fight, so it tends to happen a lot.
Yeah.
I'm seeing that a lot in Silver.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
go ahead, Kubie.
for me, like the main purpose is to gain macro advantage because that's the first lane that crashes is the mid lane.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can clear that first and start rotating quicker than your opponents, you have macro advantage.
So now explain macro advantage, Kubie.
It's basic macro and HOTS comes down to a couple things. So first of all, it's clearing the lanes as fast as you can, and not getting picked while doing it. So it's just like, for example, in Dragonshire, you go mid, you clear that lane, you go bot, you clear that, you go back top, and then usually you can get your camp at that point. That's like basic like macro on that for like the first like 2 minutes of that map.
So once the lane once your lane is pushed out, then you get the camp?
You want to make sure that the lanes are pushed out before you get camps usually, because one, your opponents have to soak their lane first before they can go and contest your camp. If they do go and contest your camp, they lose an entire wave of soak, which is very, very bad in the early game.
Yeah. So, and then there's also the importance of like, if you are solo laning, if you are a hero who can, win their lane, which we'll come back to that in a second, what winning a lane means, it's important not to over push your lane if you're just solo laning, because then you're, overextended, correct?
I mean, at that point, it's just all a matter of like what you see on your minimap. Do you see all 5 members of the enemy team? If you see 5 people bot or 4 people on a camp, 1 person mid lane, I know that there's nobody in my lane or coming to my lane. So if I have an advantage in my lane, I can just push to the towers if I want. I can take some structure damage, or I can even, a lot of players don't do this, which I'm really surprised this hasn't been picked up in the professional scene yet, is denying your enemy laner from gaining soak, where you just let the minions kill themselves and you just zone the enemy away from the experience.
So you just poke the enemy so they can't even
you literally
get near the minions.
You stand between his wave and his towers and don't let him through.
Right. So now what if
I'm gonna use that. That's good.
So what if like I remember somebody telling me not to push the lane up too far, because if you do, you also lose soak, because then you can't, you'll be in range of their towers, so you can't really get. I don't remember exactly what this person said, but.
So here's an example of that. So let's say you're top lane, you're Sonya and they're Dahaka. Sonya beats Dahaka pretty handily in lane, and pushes him in pretty easily. Now, what Dahaka can do, once your wave starts crashing against his towers, he can freeze that lane at his towers, so that if you go in to try to soak that, he can use his tongue to go and get you into his towers, and then you're all of a sudden losing that fight,
right?
Because you're overstepping. So
Okay.
you have to be careful when you're pushing out too far. If they can punish you for stepping up too far, you want to be careful of that.
Okay.
So I also interpreted it a different way, just the question. So for an example that I can come up with, it's like, oh, don't push up too far, you're going to lose the soak. Say you're top lane and the enemy fort is already down, and you push the wave up like super far where it's basically in front of the keep gate. You don't want to push up that far because that's very overextended and that's scary territory to be in. However, your minions are dying, the enemy minions are dying, you're losing that soak, and the enemy top laner is just there gaining that soak, which, yes, is bad that you're not getting that top experience. However, you can use that time to get value elsewhere on the map where you like rotate down, help do an objective, i.e. like the boss, or just like invade their siege camp or something. Typically, whenever you're not soaking, you need to be doing something else. So if you are pushing out super hard where you want to leave your lane as after you push out, you better have a reason as to why you're leaving your lane.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of in my matches, rotating lanes are not well known in lower ranks. Like rotating, like, because if you think of League of Legends, you have your specific lanes and you stay in those lanes unless you're a jungler, right?
Yeah, for
so
about
like
20 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, so this is different because it's more team oriented. Once you push out your lane, if you like so what exactly does winning a lane mean?
So for the solo laner, it means if you can push out your lane quicker than the enemy, you're now able to rotate to a different lane while you're waiting for the next wave to come in. So that can get you it can get you kills. You can clear out another wave faster. You can grab a camp while you're waiting for that lane. It's like Shot said. It's all about making sure that you're doing something while you're waiting for that experience to come in and gaining your team advantages somewhere else.
It's basically winning your lane is the enemy has to sit there and wait for the minions to come to him. So he has to be in lane. But after you clear the wave and he's sitting there soaking that experience, that gives you all that time to go do something. And he has to be there. You know he's going to be stuck in that lane gaining that experience.
Yep.
So you just use that time to gain an advantage, and basically you are winning your lane at that point. You are gaining an advantage for your team that the enemy team does not have.
Okay.
Or it could be as simple as I'm out trading this guy and he has to back and he loses a wave or two every single time that he backs. Like that's another example of just winning your lane.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess this is where voice chat becomes like absolutely amazing in this game, because you know, not everybody is going to be focusing on what you are doing as an individual, because they also have in the beginning of the game, before you're all like grouped up, they also have their, you know, responsibilities of soaking lanes, getting camps, and whatnot. So this is where voice chat really comes into saying like, hey, I've pushed out my lane, I'm coming mid to help you guys, you know, don't push out too far. Like it's everything that's like preventative, right? So
yes, please.
What's that?
So yes, please. Like I swear that like the last 3 or 4 matches I've done in Hero League has had 0 people in voice comms, and you get like those miracle plays that happen every once in a while, but mostly it's just like, oh, I can't help you guys if you don't want to listen, or I can communicate to anybody. It's rough.
Yeah, Willie says, it's really awkward to think of HOTS as laning and dealing with how to lane properly, since each map has objective and different lane priorities. So this is a map by map basis and not so much win-lose lane scenario. I mean...
it's yes and no.
Yeah, just
like
because there's so
area.
many maps. So like...
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of maps, but also like if we're talking from a competitive meta standpoint, all the solo lanes are pretty stagnant, and it's like these are the solo laners. Sometimes you can pick up a global if you need, if the map calls for it, but for the most part, like Sonya, Dahaka, I don't even know what all the solo laners are right now.
Blaze.
Rag, like what those characters, like those are the characters that will be isolated in the solo lane. So thinking of it as I would say the solo lane is the only lane that you should think of in terms of laning, for my opinion. Unless you're running like a 3-man, which is a different topic, but that's a meta in the past.
What makes a hero a solo laner? For those that don't know, what makes a hero a solo laner?
Solo laners are usually very good at clearing lanes fast. They can also usually take camps by themselves, or have some sort of a global advantage, like Falstead and Dahaka are usually picked up as solo laners.
Typically, they have some form of self-sustain.
Yeah. So we got Sonya, Dahaka, Falstad,
Rag.
Ragnaros,
I'm just gonna open up my game
Malthael.
so I can look at characters.
Now what about now Jaina's really good at clearing waves, but she's not necessarily a good solo laner.
No, because she can clear the wave really well, but if I can just engage on her while she's clearing the wave, because she has to use her cooldowns to clear the wave. So if she full clears the wave, her cooldowns are down, I jump her, I get her to like 25% health, she's not going to step into the next wave. Like,
Yeah.
she can't. She has to go back, and then she'll lose half that wave. So that's, in a nutshell, basically why she's not good at solo laning. She can't take trades very well.
Yeah, she's too squishy. Too squishy.
Mhm.
Is that the same thought with someone like Sylvanas too? Where when she uses those cooldowns, throws out her W, she's pretty much done from there.
I think for the
It's not very good.
Say it.
No, not my Sylvanas.
Cover your
I think
ears,
the
Kegs.
biggest
Cover your
thing
ears.
is that those characters don't have self-sustain. I think that's the biggest part of it.
What do people
Okay.
think of Zul solo laning? Vitruvian
That's still a
squid.
character.
Well, I mean,
Zul-
like
Then I have that bone
Zul is
prison.
really good for like
Yeah, sure.
double soaking lanes. Like if you have like a 4-man and you go top double soak top and bottom, that's a thing. Like there's different types of way you can soak, but with Zul, so why specifically with Zul is he good with double soaking?
Because he clears the lane so fast, and he adds to the wave too with the skeletons.
That's right.
So he puts
gets-
extra pressure on the lane.
And towers, like he just gets free damage on towers. When towers still had ammo, Zul was cancerous. He would just drain all the ammo, and then it's like, okay, we just lost an entire wall because our towers weren't shooting. But to answer the question about Zul solo laning, oftentimes you'll find competitive players say, why are we having Zul soak one lane when we could have him soak two?
Yeah.
So usually you just have him in like the rotate so he can clear really fast, and then like the rest of your team is looking for kills mostly. And then when an objective spawns, all four people go up to the objective, whether it be a shrine or a temple or whatever, and Zul just picks up the other lanes and just soaks those two lanes back and forth until his team absolutely needs him and knows that a team fight's about to break out.
Yeah. So the key is definitely look at your mini map. How often should you look at your mini map? Every 5 seconds? 7 seconds?
Every second, probably.
Every second. Look at your
Pretty
mini map.
frequent.
This is a team game. You guys need to be team players, otherwise you might as well go play League.
You should be looking at your mini map more than your actual game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Point. And from an art side, like we specifically make those portraits. We try to make them easy to read so you can quickly glance, notice what character icon that is, and go back to your game. Like we actually spend hours to make sure those icons are not memorable, but they're easy to recognize. Okay, that was Lunara. Oh, okay, that was Blaze down on bottom. So keep an eye on that mini map for sure.
I think going back to the Zul thing, I had a quick tangent on that, but like back when
We have a tangent.
Hey,
2 of them.
nice. But like when Zul was released, Blackheart's Bay was still in the competitive rotation for Hero League. So he was incredibly strong on that map because the two top lanes were so close to each other, and that freed basically you just needed one other person if you wanted to soak the bottom lane, and then you had 3 people just running around the map doing whatever they wanted to do. That's really scary
Yeah.
on a map like Blackheart's Bay.
Yeah. So we talked about laning, but now why lane in HOTS? What makes laning so much more I mean, I guess it's important in a different way other than League. So laning in HOTS you gain XP as a team, and you want to get that map advantage early game and that XP advantage, so you can just start like making the enemy team, run around like chickens with their heads cut off trying to keep up. So what's the importance of soaking rather than getting an objective? Say you're on no, this is kind of only good for I don't know what I want to say, but if you lose objective, okay, so
Give us
hold
a map
on.
example.
So yeah, that's what I'm doing. Tribute. What's that called? Tribute.
Ravenlord?
Yeah, Ravenlord.
Cursed
Hollow.
Hollow.
Thank you. So on Cursed Hollow, you can give that first. It's not an objective. It's that first. Because you gain the objective after you get the tribute 3 times, right?
Right.
So you can give that first chance to get the tribute and soak your lanes, therefore making your team further ahead in XP, right? But on Ravenlord, you not necessarily want to give up the first tribute, because the first tribute can, even if you do have XP, can turn the advantage into a better can give your enemy team a better advantage, because the value of the objective on Ravenlord is so much better than any other map in terms of getting XP and taking towers. Because like, so Punisher, the first Punisher and the first mech, those are and Dragonshire, those are fairly weak in the early game, right? You would say? So you can't really take a tower with that. But I feel like on Ravenlord, you can really like get ahead and get so many towers if you get that first objective.
That's depending on what your opponent does as well. Because your opponent's going to want to do the same thing as you, obviously. Everybody's there to win. So say they send 3 people to the tribute and you send like 1 or 2 and you're just like, oh, just stall the tribute. We're soaking lanes. However, they're soaking lanes too, and they're soaking as many lanes as you are. At that point, you're not accomplishing anything unless you're pushing down towers. But if oftentimes the call will be like, just match your lane opponent. If your lane opponent starts coming, you start rotating too. Unless you have a very strong pushing character, then they're just like, screw it, just push that wall down. We'll give this. So it's really, obviously, almost every single topic we talk about today is going to be composition dependent. So it's really hard to say in a general sense, but yes, you can definitely give up objectives for map prioritization or just like getting camps, just getting experience. Like if they send all 5 people and you're a weaker composition, of course you can just give it up and be like, screw that, I'm just gonna get this soak. Like we'll be up like half a level for the next one, which might even give you a talent advantage in some cases. So there are some advantages to it.
So what if I had a situation last night where, and I think I know the answer, but I just want to bring it to attention. So what if you are down in XP and you have to go for an objective, but they are 4 because you killed one of their teammates and you're 5? Should you still go for the objective? Because even though you're down in XP, you're still, 1 up on them in terms of a teammate?
That's your best chance to come back. So yes, like if you're the only one that's kind of sketchy is if you don't have ultimates. That's the one that's kind of iffy. But I think that if you're have more bodies on the map, then yes, you should go for it.
So Willie Park says, are you guys going to bring up giving up objective for map control and priority lanes? For example, on Towers of Doom, give up an altars to take a keep for future shots being more powerful, even if it sets you back in the short term. So Towers of Doom is I feel like super different than any other map, because if you start taking their towers, you start, making them run around trying to constantly catch up. Right, because like if you take their towers, they have less shots on you. It's not like, you could just like rush core. So I feel like Towers of Doom is different in terms of giving up objective.
I don't know. I feel like Towers is super unique in that aspect as well, because they literally can't leave their base if all of their things are capped.
Yeah.
Like they're
that's
just stuck.
true.
They're stuck. Yeah.
There's 2 outs in between the top and middle and bottom and middle lanes, but generally you can't leave unless you take one back.
Also, oftentimes you'll just see teams like taking the bot keep and just holding the bot keep forever. And just be like, you guys cannot get this back because we are defending it. This is usually if there's like an Abathur comp and the Abathur can soak for them. But a lot of times teams like to forego all map control basically just to hold the bot keep because they know the enemy team wants their bot keep back because they want even amount of shots plus a lot of experience. Plus you can control the pumpkin sappers that are near bot lane and you can just threaten escorting those pumpkins in over and over and over again where the enemy team has to respond. So otherwise they lose like 3 free shots. But also when those pumpkins aren't up, if the enemy team cannot siege that fort, they're wasting time and the team defending is actually winning the game slowly. So Towers is a very wonky map.
Yeah.
It's very different than every other map. Every other map is much more like, here's the objective, get the objective, cool. Now we push up down the other forts until they're destroyed. Whereas Towers, they have an entire another mechanic where it's just like, oh, the towers regenerate and you gain the tower. And so it's like, it's really difficult to compare them.
So I was just looking at something. So say you have a Zagara on the enemy team and you don't really have anybody that can really solo lane against Zagara. Okay. So let's just say in that wonky situation that it's just how that is. Okay. So it's okay to let Zagara push out that lane and you can just kind of sit underneath your towers and wait for the minions to come to you so you can get easy soak. So but Zagara would be winning that lane, correct?
Yeah, she's winning that lane, but at least you're not losing the experience that your team needs.
Yeah. And it's
like if you're in a losing matchup, you just kind of have to concede.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like I have a lot of problems with early game where everybody just wants to, we're bringing this back to like the middle lane thing where everybody just wants to brawl in the middle lane. And I feel like a lot of the mindset is that early kills equal an aggression equal winning. But it's really all about that soak. You don't really want you kind of not that you don't want to avoid them, but if a kill presents itself, like say the enemy team's Vala is like way up in your towers and you're like, hold on, let's go kill her. And then you go kill her. Now that's like a situation where easily you can kill the Vala and get away with it. But I would say in early game, don't go looking for fights and just focus on the soak. Is that, or am I?
If you soak your lanes, opportunities will present themselves. So let's say it's Dragonshire and you have the superior macro comp where you're just constantly pushing out the lanes. They have to constantly respond to you. The waves are crashing to their towers. There's people soaking there. You see a person in each lane. So you know that there's 2 people off the map somewhere. So you go check their camp. You kill them, you get their camp. That's an example of gaining an advantage through macro.
Okay.
Because you know those 3 people are not going to be helping them because they're soaking lanes.
Yeah. Taking camps just as objectives come up is the key. Yeah. I mean, especially if it's on like Battlefield of Eternity where you have the shaman camp. Taking a shaman camp before objective is like, oh my god, you're not blue anymore.
No more blue.
No more blue.
I fix white balance.
For a team with a KT and Zul'jin, it benefits the team to fight a bit to gain stacks, but only until the first wave of minion comes, then rotate to respected lanes.
Are you talking about convection? Because that's not a talent.
Are you talking about Kael'thas or are you talking about Kel'Thuzad? What KT are you talking about?
This is hot. KTZ is Kel'Thuzad, all right?
Okay, all right.
Always and forever.
All right.
I don't care who you are.
Any hero that needs hero.
WoW or not.
There's so many grumblings with that.
Okay, so I saw Tangent wrote here different lanes soaking strats for 2-lane maps versus 3-lane maps.
Yeah, I was just curious because I'm that person that's going to ask these dumb questions, so to speak. Do you have different ideas for 2-lane versus 3-lane when it comes to soak on the lanes, or is it kind of just depending on, again, coming to your comp and kind of moving from there?
You go for it, Kubie.
Thanks, man. So, for example, Brax's Holdout is one of my favorite maps, and that's because you can play it differently depending on your comp. The most common strategy in Hero League is the 4-1 split. So you have 4 people sitting bot lane, pushing that in, and you have the solo laner. But that map is also a rotational kind of map. You can have theoretically 2 solo laners with 3 people roaming around, which allows you to gain advantages in other places while not losing soak. So there are for 2-lane maps specifically, there are different strategies that you can implement depending on what heroes you have. So that's definitely something that you should be asking your team. Like, do we want to be able to roam around and get kills and take camps and stuff? Do we just want to try and out push them and have the better pushing comp? Like, it just depends.
Okay.
Awesome. That's very helpful, honestly. Especially doing my draft points. I'm always trying to talk to people and ask those types of questions. I don't know personally because I'm stuck in that silver forever, I feel like. So it's good to know.
So let's say your team. So I had a scenario in my head, but I forgot about it. So I forget what I was gonna say. I saw the chocolate on my desk, and then I forgot what I was gonna say.
Priorities.
So let's say, like, what can you do if, say, you're in a game and you want to lane a certain way, or you think, it would be the best way to, gain map advantage, XP advantage. What's the best way to deal if your team isn't cooperating or listening? Like, what can you do as a single person in a team-oriented game to help your team get that advantage in lane or in XP? Like, if your team is constantly going over and fighting and dying and you're losing XP, should you break off and soak, or should you constantly follow them around like their shadow?
Even if it's the wrong decision, you should do everything as a team. That is the best way to do it, because if you split up and you do different things, your chances are much weaker than if you just go and do something that is probably wrong, but your entire team's there, so it may turn out okay.
Yeah, there's basically a saying that, like, competitive players have said for a long time. It's better for 5 people to follow the wrong call than for 2 people to follow the right call. It's like, if 2 people show up to an objective, like, this is the correct call, we're gonna go over here, and 2 people go over there, they'll probably die because they're like 2v5 or whatever. Whereas if all 5 people go to a boss and they're like, oh, we're gonna contest this boss, and you're in the back of your head, you're like, this is the dumbest idea I've ever heard, but you go with, because who knows, maybe you wipe them and you get that boss. Like, there's always just not random, but there's always a chance that this bad call will come out okay because you were all 5 there and you were all able to back each other up.
Yep, HOTS is a team game, so if you play as a team, your chances of winning are much stronger.
Even if you're, like, down in XP though? Like, what if it's just, like, all going to hell and you team up with your team and you just keep dying and dying and dying, then what?
You AFK, mute them, and int down mid.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
No?
No, don't
Just
do that.
me?
That's bad. That's taboo. Don't do that.
Kags, I gotta, speaking of splitting up, I gotta run.
Okay.
I apologize for bouncing so early, everybody. I've got some family things to do today. Kubie shot, thank you very much. This was awesome.
Dude, it was awesome.
Kags, thank you for setting this up.
If you end the call,
yes.
What will happen?
I can
Is that gonna screw up my layout?
I hope not. I can leave it on and just take off my camera and stuff if you'd rather me do that.
Could you do that? Is that
Yeah, for sure.
okay? And then you can like mute yourself too.
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much, Tangent, for all your help.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Have
a
fun.
good weekend. Bye-bye.
It's very important to not only time camps with objective, but when the minions in your lane spawn, so your minions take tower damage and your camp. Oh no, it screwed it up.
Did it? No, it looks fine. Oh, it did screw it up.
Oh, Kubie's cut in half.
Yikes.
I am shot. It shot as me.
Oh
Hello.
no.
I am Kubie, coach of No Tomorrow.
Kubie, are you okay? How are you feeling?
My first order of business is getting Casanova a haircut.
Wow.
All right. So while I fix this, guys, read chat and answer the questions. Because I gotta fix this.
Okay.
Kubie.
It is very important to not only time camps with objective, but when the minions in your lane spawn, so your minions tank tower damage and your camps get the most out of it. That's true. Unless it's the night camp, which the night camp is designed to tank towers. Nice. Look at you fix it.
Don't watch me.
I'm watching. Okay, I'm sorry. But yeah, that's basically true. HP hits. It's practically completely right. Where you want to get the most out of your camps. Typically, like if you have a siege camp, obviously they're gonna stay out of range of the towers, but you don't want them to get hit by minions first, otherwise they start taking damage from the minions. So ideally having a wave in front of them can stop that from happening, and then they can just push freely until an enemy hero comes and clears it. But yeah, for the most part, that's completely correct. It's like the board game Stratego, right? All right, Kubie, I'm going to ask you questions. You ready?
Sure, go for it.
It's like the board game Stratego, right? A stronger piece can take infinite number of fights against weaker pieces. Nothing good works if you are weak, like being undermanned. Nothing bad fails if you have strength, like having more men.
Yes, having more
Phrasing
pieces usually helps you. Phrasing. Yes, do everything as a team.
All right.
That's what I like it in the well. I guess not so much do everything as a team, but make sure everyone's on the same page. Like, I'm going to be doing this. Don't go do this.
All right.
Or we all need to go do this.
I have a question for you, Kubie. What if you're trying to be the most wonderful person you can be, and you're just super nice, and you're just like, hey, team, we're going to work really hard together, and we're going to draft the best comp ever, and we're going to win. And then some guy's just having a really bad day, and he's just like, screw you, I hate you, and I don't want to talk to you. And say, for instance, all three of your other teammates start fighting with that guy, so everybody starts hating each other. What do you do then?
That's a good question.
Boy.
That's actually a good question.
Boy. Well,
you just GG next it and int down mid?
No.
Oh.
If someone is being really rude, of course, if you really think that you're never going to get good communication out of them, just mute their communication channel, so you don't have to deal with it. You can focus with the rest of your team. Generally, that person is probably going to follow whatever you guys are doing, unless they're like just running down a lane and they're just determined to lose the game for you. That does happen sometimes, unfortunately.
I mean, you just do whatever the best of your ability to be a team player.
Exactly.
Sometimes people ruin the game. That's inevitable. You can't have good games every single time. So yes, it's a Christmas tree. He hasn't put it down yet.
It's always Christmas here.
From an art perspective, okay, so Tangent left behind. What from an art perspective, we spend time trying to figure out what picture best represents the hero in your minimap. So, okay, no, he said that already. I'm reading things we already talked about. How important map objectives are.
Map objectives are how you win the game.
I mean, yes, map objectives are how you win the game. Very good.
Yes.
Very good shot. Very good.
I did it.
Unless it's haunted mines.
Hold on.
I was gonna say,
map.
unless it's haunted mines, then you can just ignore it and just get all the camps and push.
That's not a real map, so
It's
you know.
okay.
It's like it's ARAM.
It's ARAM.
It's ARAM with camps.
Real talk. Can we? I want to talk to the game creators right now, personally. Can we have another tab that's just ARAM all the time, in addition to Brawl? Because that's my favorite.
There is an ARAM, right?
That's like, I have to join a channel and it's hard. And it doesn't match make. It's really hard.
Shot is lazy. Shot is lazy.
An ARAM game option
Hear
would
me
be
out
fun.
on this.
Okay, so 1 second. What was I reading? So it is important. Okay, so you're soaking and an objective presents itself and you're not 10 yet. What do? You soak for 10, right?
You soak 10.
You
Are
soak
they
to
10?
10. So is it okay to
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
so
Are they
like,
10?
Are they? Yes, they are 10. They are 10.
Okay, then you give.
Then you yes. Then you,
You
do
give
soak
and
10.
soak. But say it's on Volskaya and you're just reaching level 9, they're 10, they're on the objective. It is okay to go to another lane and soak because it takes so long to hold that objective.
Yeah.
That
You
it
can
is
possibly get level 10 before it even ends.
The best
yeah.
the best thing to do in that scenario is to have probably like 2 people in one lane and 3 people in one lane and push down the wall for quick experience and then go up and contest.
Yeah. So I also have another question in here. So when is it okay to take enemy camps? I always have the problem in my games where someone wants to go over to the enemy side when the entire enemy team is up and for some reason take that camp when the entire enemy team is missing. Shot just starts laughing. So like it happens more often than not. So basically when you want to take enemy camps is when you all see them in a lane or you know where they are or they're all dead. Is that the only time you want to take enemy camps?
Go for it again.
Thank you, Shot. But like one fun strategy for stealing camps, let's say you have a global and the enemy team does not. So you have a Dahaka top lane, and and your lanes are pushed out, and your tank goes and scouts if they're on their siege camp, let's say. Dahaka can burrow at any time to make that a winning fight for you if there's 4 people there. And you just instantly, let's say you kill like 2 people and get the camp. That's super worth.
Yeah.
You just gain macro advantage on the map because there's 2 people dead, and you missed maybe half a wave of soak for 2 kills and map advantage. I think that's worth.
Yeah.
That's one example. The other example would be is if you somehow got like 2 kills, you can go and invade as like 4 and get the camp really quick so they can't contest it.
But that's if you get kills.
Yeah.
That's not like entire enemies top and missing.
Or you can actually also, depending on the map, if you are faster at clearing your lanes, the enemy team is there in their lanes soaking. You can now go and steal their camp while they're soaking the lane.
Yeah. As long as you know where they are. As long as
Yes.
you can see them, it's good too.
Or if your composition's just really good at fighting and theirs isn't.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
Lots of stuns.
a lot of things are composition based.
Like I said, almost every single answer we give today could just boil down to, well, does your composition fit?
Yeah. That's very true. But I feel like comp is like more
Comp
in-depth.
it's very an in-depth discussion. However, it's also nearly impossible to control in Hero League.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you just kind of have to roll with what you get most of the times and try to make the most out of it. But then at the same time, ideally you are able to analyze your draft and be like, okay, our composition is good at this. We have a camper, like we can fight really well. They're more scaling. We need to win early game as opposed to late game or whatever. So you try to make all those
So
analyses early.
yeah, you want to make sure that if you're bringing it back to invading camps, like, does my comp win early game? Is my win condition for this comp to win early game? If yes, then you want to force them to fight you as much as possible, but also make sure you're getting your soak.
Yeah. So what makes a comp early game as opposed to late game?
Say you have like a Nazebo on your team. Nazebo, his power spikes are like what, 10, 16, and 20, with 20 being like he's a god at doing damage.
Yeah.
But your objective, if you have a Nazebo, your objective mostly throughout the game is going to be to get him stacks and to make sure that you lose as little as possible. That's like the very basic. This is not knowing what else is on the comp.
Yeah.
But let's say like your Nazebo is like a big part of your comp. That would be, you would want to make sure that you're playing for the late game and not losing as much early game. Now, let's see.
Sorry, continue. I'm sorry. That was my bad. I never mean to interrupt you, Kubie. I apologize profusely.
It's okay, Sean. I forgive you. But let's say on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have a Kerrigan comp. Kerrigan is extremely volatile in the early game because there's not a lot of tools to deal with her usually, until like 7 when you get cleansed. But she can, if you have like heroes that are good at clearing lanes really well, she can find a lot of kills that you normally wouldn't be able to get because of combos, and just play it in Kerrigan comp. Yeah, early game.
Early game Kerrigan comp. A lot of blow-ups. So,
yes, exactly.
So say I am a Nazebo, and the team really doesn't understand how Nazebo works, how I have to like basically lane and get as many stacks as I can, and then we are going to win late game. Like we promise we'll win late game. Like if I say that, they're like, no, we have to fight. We have to like, so Nazebo is very dependent on soaking and getting that XP, where he is not a very good hero to constantly be following your team around the entire game. Is that correct? Like, because you know how you said that you have to follow your team around if they're making, you know, not very smart decisions and calls.
Mm-hmm.
So, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. I'm doing the shot thing now. I apologize.
No, I was gonna say, does that make sense? Like that you have to like shot.
Well, that's the beauty of having different talents for each tier. If you know you're not going to get your stacks at 20, and it's going to take you a very long time to get those, you can go with a different talent. I mean, it's not optimal, but it's the best for your situation.
No, that's true. Yeah. Just don't take the stacks if you don't think you're going to make it.
Yep.
Makes sense. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about, or should we open this time for Q&A with chat if anybody has any questions?
I think there's two. So when you go into a game, if your team is open to discussion, you should be asking them, like, how do you guys think we win this game? Should we be aggressive early game? Should we just try to mainly soak lanes and gain macro advantage? Should we try to fight them as much as we can? Make sure that you're talking with your team as much as you can, so that they and they know what your win condition is and what you need to do to win the game.
Yeah, again, because it's not League where you just assign yourself a lane and then just stay in that lane for the next 45 minutes. You constantly have to be rotating and making sure each lane is being soaked early game, and if your lane is soaked, then you have to, or if your lane is pushed out, then if your teammates need help in another lane, rotate up to them. It's all about making sure your team is in the best situation possible for that extra advantage.
Yes, game sense in HOTS is incredibly important because, especially if you're on like if you're a warrior main, or if you're in the solo lane, you need to know. Okay, I see. So let's say you're in a solo lane, and you're Sonya and you're laning against Dahaka. You soak your lane. You see that your team is fighting mid. Dahaka has to sit there and soak that lane while you can go down and help your team win that fight and gain advantage. That's like a very like basic like example of having that game sense to be like, oh, I can rotate mid now because my lane is done, and we get 2 kills, and now our 4-man is gonna be able to do whatever they want for the next 20 seconds.
Yeah.
30 seconds.
Yeah, that's pretty much soaking and getting that XP advantage.
To add on to something somebody said in chat, LDAPTV said game sense equals looking at the minimap and watching for rotations. Yes, but also game sense can boil down to as simply like predicting your opponent, like just knowing where they are. Like, oh, they've been off the map for like 20 seconds. They're probably on boss. Like that's game sense in itself.
Yeah, it's
Just, like,
basically go ahead,
knowledge, just knowledge of the game and being able to almost completely see the map with as if it didn't have fog of war, but just like understanding where everybody's going and where they're going to be, and like at the exact same times, and like oftentimes people time things, so it's just like, okay, so he's going to be here in 15 seconds, so I can go rotate and do this camp on the opposite side of the map because I know that he won't invade me, and blah blah blah. So there's like so much stuff that goes into game sense other than just looking at your mini map.
If it doesn't
like,
feel right, don't do it.
Yep, that is very true. Like another example would be like, say you see your teammate going to gank someone that is way overextended in a lane. The person in that lane is already attacking that person as well. You just cleared a lane, so you're going. Let's say you were going to go upwards and they're going to the bottom lane. What you can do, say you're the warrior, what you can actually do, okay, they're probably going to go try and help that person. Let me get in their way and cut off that rotation so that person dies and they can't do anything about it. That's also game sense.
Yeah, it's basically saying like, if I were the enemy team, what would I be doing now to better further my advantage?
Exactly.
So it's about like Shot said, if they've been missing for a good 30 seconds and both of their camps are available, they're probably at a camp or baiting the boss. And you also this is another completely different topic that I want to get into, but you have to make sure that you're not getting baited yourself. Like if someone is trying to like pull you away, or you're chasing is bad. Don't chase. Nothing ever comes from chasing. Because
except
you always
sorrow and misery.
Yeah, because like someone on the enemy team would be like, hey, yo, this person's chasing me, get up here now, and then you're not watching the mini map, and then their entire enemy team just surrounds you, and you're Jaina, and all you have to do is, panic ult, and then you die. And then objective comes up, and go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, really quick, if you're trying to contest a boss point and you like assume that the enemy team is on a boss, please do not face check bushes walking into boss. It's so painful to watch Kael'thas's just like walk into a bush into 5 people that aren't doing the boss and are just waiting for him to walk in. Please throw abilities, at least one, at a bush.
Yeah, it's definitely
biggest thing.
If you don't know where they are, definitely not a good thing as a squishy, as like Li Ming or Jaina or Nazebo to just walk up to an area where you even slightly think they might be. Like Shot said, just throw out your orb or throw out your toads.
Spiders.
Just throw out your spiders. Do everything.
Spiders give vision. Chuck them in the bush.
Yeah. And they do damage too.
Yeah, if no one's there, oh well, you have vision. If someone's there, you just did damage. Congrats.
Yeah.
Also, doing that, like, I remember one game I had where I was like, they're probably going to be in this bush. I hit my flame strike on 5 people with the level 16 Kael'thas. They immediately have to back away or they lose that fight and not want to see the objective in the game. So
Yeah.
you use your bush senses.
Bush strats. Bush strats.
Exactly.
Ali
If you
says,
don't use your bush senses, my Garrosh will destroy you.
Exactly.
Be afraid of Shot if you ever see him in game. Will Bella be making an appearance? She's sleeping. What heroes would you all recommend for players new to the game? How many and what kinds should people learn before hopping into Hero League? That's actually a good question.
You should have, I would say, 3 to 5 heroes in each role that you know how to play.
In each role. That's the key. That's the key.
Yeah.
There's nothing more tilting than going into a draft and someone says, I don't support. Well, that's nice.
I feel like Shot's having flashbacks.
Well, it's just like, okay, so say all 4 of you have already picked and your last pick is supposed to pick support because nobody picked support up until that point. And the last pick just goes, by the way, I don't support Instalux Illidan. It's just like, cool. Like, 1, you didn't pick a support, so we're screwed. And 2, you picked the character that needs the support the most. So I don't know what you want from us.
I'm also assuming they didn't probably say they can't support until that point.
They definitely don't say it until it's their pick, and you just go, well, that would have been nice to know earlier.
Yeah.
However, try not to be like toxic to that person, because if you piss them off, they're just going to be jerks the entire time.
So what Kubie said, learning a hero in each, at least 5 heroes in each role is really, really important, because with HOTS, what we've been talking about throughout this show is comp is very, this game is very comp dependent. So if you know what your enemy team is capable of and what each enemy hero is capable of, you have a better chance at, mitigating their damage or countering their plays. Like, say, the easiest one, if you have an ETC on the enemy team and you know he's going to take Mosh, you could go anything that will displace his Mosh, like Johanna with her Blessed Shield, or Li Ming with her
Wave of Force.
Thank you. Wave of Force, or Thrall with his Sundering.
Thunder.
Yeah. So anything, it's very important to know how each role works, also on your team as well. Because like I said, if you know how the Nazeebo works, then you know to let him do his thing and soak, because once he gets all of those stacks, he is OP and you guys will be able to like rush core. Like, that's kind of extreme, but knowing what your teammates' abilities are capable of and what they're capable of doing to the enemy team and what the enemy team is capable of is just so important in HOTS. So you have to practice and look up and read about the heroes, and it's just so important. Nuptup says, what is the hardest hero that is necessary to learn to play in Hero League?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Necessary?
It's hard because of the word necessary and because of I don't think, has the meta changed at all this season? Not really, right?
I would probably say
Garrosh.
If you want to have
Fury.
Garrosh and Malfurion, I would say, are the hardest. Well, not Garrosh, but I'd say Malfurion is probably the hardest in his role.
Malf, continue. Sorry, Malf is like probably the best support. Continue.
Yeah, probably Malf. In Warrior,
I'd say Diablo or Garrosh.
Diablo, yeah, I definitely
Diablo takes a lot of practice just to learn the angles.
Yeah, I mean, even though he just got reworked, he's still super important in Silver. Like, there is very few games that have
super
Diablo.
Popular in Masters as well.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's picked all the time. For damage or like ranged, I would say I guess Hanzo is the hardest character probably to learn in that regard, just because you have to be good mechanically.
I can't play Hanzo. His auto attack is just way too slow for me. Even
the
though
hardest part about him is the scatter shot. Just learning
that
single
too, that
scatter
too,
shot.
that too.
Also, I'm waiting for the Hanzo rework where they get rid of scatter shot and give him the quick shoot from Overwatch.
Oh
Or
no,
shoot
boy.
real fast.
no more, no more. I love when Shot says something. He goes like this.
I think. What was I gonna say? I think Genji is pretty hard to learn too
Oh yeah.
for lower level players, just because of like he's so squishy. If you use all of your buttons too quickly, you're now sitting in in the enemy team,
Mhm.
and you're dead.
Yeah. Diablo is so easy with Garrosh. People have to learn combos EQ or ER, and lastly, the standard QER.
Yeah.
Because I don't play Garrosh.
Wait, oh okay, yeah, that's a Garrosh combo. I was like, oh, I mean, I'm confused. There's a Diablo combo where it's like you put down APOC, then you charge them out of the APOC, then you flip them back in. That's like the really standard APOC combo, but now people are digging the lightning breath because it slows.
Yeah, that's right. They just added that.
Lightning breath is fun.
Really good.
When learning a hero, you have to determine which abilities work better with on release versus quick cast. I would say if you're learning a new hero, definitely use on release so you can kind of get the range of what your hero is capable of. Does that make sense?
I think that's good to start with on release, just so you know how far you can go with the ability. That helps you when you switch to quick cast. You already know what the max range of the ability is.
Yeah, you kind of get a sense, like a feel.
Yeah.
But with Gleaming, I feel like you can't do on release. With Gleaming, I think quick cast is like you have to do it in order to get that WQ combo.
I've played my entire professional career with vanilla hot settings.
Wait, really?
Yeah. When I first joined the game in technical alpha, the quick cast settings were like really weird and not optimized. So I got extremely used to just playing without quick cast on, and so I've just transitioned that into my professional career. I used to use quick cast settings in League of Legends, but they felt so vastly different in HOTS that I did not enjoy them, nor did I feel that I was performing well on them.
Wait, so do you do the point? You don't do on release. You do the point click. The click.
Yeah, I have to click every single ability. Like I use my keybinds to like activate them, but I have to click every single time I want to use an ability.
I don't know if I could do that. I'm impressed.
It's weird. It's definitely not optimal. It's just what I got used to and what I got good at, so I just stayed with it.
I mean,
I'm pretty sure.
Sense.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say it makes sense. If he's used to it, then don't switch now.
I know Chu8 said that he doesn't use quick cast either. That's just another example. But it really comes down to what you're used to. For me, I cannot land an EQ combo with Kel'Thas without quick cast. So I have to use it.
Okay, Fury says, people who pick LB Lightning Breath on Diablo, why don't they go Decimate on Garrosh? More damage? I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Is he actually? He's trolling. I thought it was an actual question.
So Fury doesn't like Lightning Breath. He thinks it's bad, which is fair. I mean, APOC's still a really good ability.
Yeah.
So he just doesn't like Lightning Breath, and he says, oh, well, Lightning Breath does damage and slows, but Garrosh's second ultimate, Decimate, does more damage and slows, so it must be better, right? If we're using the same logic. However, that's low-key Flame Fury. That's rude. Decimate's a garbage ability.
I'm gonna have Fury on the show. You and Fury can go at it, Shot, about quick cast.
I'll fight him. 1v1
we'll fight him. The entire show will just be about what's
Lightning
better. Lightning Breath versus Decimate. Just because a hero is the best fit for a comp, if you're not good at it, it's not good fit because you won't utilize it well. That's true. Do not learn your heroes in Hero League.
Yep.
And also, if the hero has a high win rate on HOTS logs, that doesn't guarantee that you are going to win if you do not know how to play the hero. I'm just going to say that right now. You have to practice if you want to be good at a hero. I get told APOC is bad and people question why I still pick it. Just trying to help people understand both alts are fine. Same for talent picks. Don't just pick talents because they have a high win rate. Yes, you have to. It's very. HOTS is. I don't know. I feel like the gameplay is more in depth than League because, like, you have to tailor. You don't have to, but it's better to tailor your talent picks towards your comp. Again, it's all around comp. What Shot and Kubie have been saying. This is all around comp. Would you say Heroes, because of that, has a pretty, not a high learning curve, but like difficulty wise, would you say it's kind of hard to learn when you get really into the nitty gritty of how to play the game?
It has a high skill ceiling, yes.
I think HOTS is the easiest to learn, hardest to master MOBA.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. I like that. Easiest to learn, harder to... Wait, what did you say?
Hardest.
Hardest to master. That makes sense. Hardest to master, by the way. Practicing taking the camps and using stutter... Oh, yeah, stutter steps. That's a...
Kite. If you're a ranged assassin, please kite. Don't stand still.
Describe kite.
Kiting is where you attack people with abilities and or auto attacks and move either towards or away depending on the situation. If your team is on the back foot, you will be going backwards towards your base. So you would want to say you're just using right clicks like a heathen. So you would want to right click the enemy character to auto attack them and then right click behind your character to move backwards so that during the time where your animation has to reset, where every character has like a duration that they have to like wait before they can auto attack again, you move during that time period so that you can reposition yourself and not get destroyed. Because if you're standing still as a ranged assassin, you're making the tank's life like the easiest thing in the world.
And don't worry, if you guys don't, I know you guys play HOTS, but if you guys can't really visualize what Shot is saying, in future shows, I'm going to have like my screen and we can have like pre-recorded scenarios, or I could show an example of what like Shot is talking about kiting in a AI game or something. So don't worry if you guys don't know exactly what we're talking about. Future shows will have examples. Fury says Heroes easiest to learn, hardest for a team to master. This game requires full synergy from everyone. Dota League, you can have your mid or bot lane carry the game because in Heroes everyone has the same power level. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep. Does anybody else have any questions? I mean, I could talk days about this game, but if anybody has any like specific, don't be embarrassed about asking a question. The reason why I ask Shot and Kubie to explain kiting and macro is because I want you guys to know what he's talking about. But don't feel embarrassed to ask any questions. Best solo laner on Braxis. Wait, go ahead, Shot.
They flame you a little bit.
Yeah, shots are comic relief. He'll flame you. Don't worry about it. He already flamed me like 5 times this morning.
Best solo laner on Braxis. You have to ask yourself 2 questions. Is the strongest solo laner up? And what is their solo laner? Have they picked it already? So generally the strongest, if we're talking about straight up who wins the hardest in a 1v1 matchup, it's usually going to be Sonya. She has a few counters, but
Phoenix.
Yeah, Phoenix is a good counter pick to her. So like let's say the enemy team has a Phoenix and you know they're going to be the top laner. A good counter to that would be Blaze, because Blaze he has good self-sustain and he can poke from range to make sure that his shields don't regenerate. And actually just push him out of lane over time.
A lot of times people like to pick their solo laner last, or like at least wait until after their opponent picks it so they can counter pick it. So oftentimes you'll see some teams on maps that have a designated solo lane. A lot of times you might see teams waiting their last pick for their solo laner.
Yep. Yeah, solo lane matchups are rock paper scissors usually, or let's say let's say it's Braxis and you have Genji, or X hero that can rotate easily. You then have the advantage in that solo lane, because if that solo laner steps up, they die.
Yeah, and you can even be a weaker laner compared to their laner as long as you have a roamer. If a roamer can come and help you, like, you just become two people at all times, and they have to respect that.
Yep.
So roamer is kind of like jungler in League. Is that what you're, or like who would be considered a roamer?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good way to explain it is as a jungler in League, except without doing the camps.
Yeah.
Roamers are people that can get to lanes very quickly and are often able to dash and engage very well. So like Tracers, Genjis, Zeratools, I guess Nova.
Stealth heroes.
Yeah, stealth heroes in general.
I would say
Maiev, Kerrigan's.
Yeah.
Just characters that can hard engage on somebody, like in an instant, are relatively good laners, or roamers rather.
Instant punishment for being out of position.
Mitana says, what are your expectations for next season? Will increased Hero League queue times benefit the game or nah? I'm skeptical of it.
My personal opinion on everything they're doing with Hero League right now, I think it's anywhere but up, or anywhere is up, is how I want to say that.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of hit rock bottom at this point.
Yeah, like
me.
I feel like the fact that it's a team game and the fact that it's win-lose determines your rank really doesn't allow anybody to have an actual good idea of what rank they are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, there's every time I log into to HOTS, I have several GMs on my friends list, and this player is closer to your skill level, and I'm like, I'm Diamond 1.
Questionable. Questionable.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely turned that off. Screw that feature. Get that out of here.
What are your guys' thoughts on HOTS logs? Do you think it is good for new people to look at that site to determine who is good on what map, or just figure it out on their own?
I don't use HOTS logs, but I've been playing the game since forever, so that's not a fair representation. HOTS logs, I think, has some use. You can definitely use it for statistical analysis, but I wouldn't take it as like the Bible.
Yeah, definitely.
It represents only the data that it was able to gather. It doesn't have everything.
Are you going to share with us?
No.
No.
Why would I do that?
HOTS logs really only gives you an accurate it only gives you accurate statistics if you constantly upload your replays, right?
Yep.
That's how HOTS logs works. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't have every replay.
Yeah. So if you're not constantly uploading your replays, then you're not going to have an accurate reading of what, MMR
However,
you actually have.
If someone else is actively uploading the replays that you are in, it counts towards your statistics.
Yeah, that too. One tank versus two bruisers. What's better? Example, ETC Garrosh Arthas or Sonya and Arthas, Dahaka and Leoric.
I would say that most bruisers are also categorized as melee assassins, specifically looking at Sonya. So they don't really categorize as a warrior at all. I would say that the ETC is probably better because he now has 2 slide targets.
Yeah.
If they're too far up, then he's just got a double slide. and one of those people are probably going to die off of that.
Yeah.
Most of the time, yeah. Almost like whenever Blizzard releases a new warrior that isn't a warrior and is actually like a bruiser or like a melee assassin or a Zarya,
Yeah.
it's like it's frustrating because then you have to explain to people in Hero League, not saying like this is an awful thing and like, oh my god, how do I have to explain this? Oh my gosh. But like it's just frustrating that people see it as like, oh, we need a warrior, and then you get someone that locks in Zarya, and you're like, well, not what I meant, but close enough, I suppose. It's just frustrating because a lot of the characters shouldn't be classified as warriors because it really should be considered tank, melee assassin, ranged assassin, support.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like that should be like it, in my opinion.
Yeah. When should a new player begin worrying about dynamic builds in a game instead of just doing a build?
When you have enough knowledge of the hero to know which talents are best in what situation.
Yeah.
Which you can just easily learn through experience and just watching like high level streams and people like and just ask about talents, like what do you think about this talent, and just listen to what they have to say.
Yeah.
Oh, I have
or you can learn here. Go ahead, Kubie.
Or you could learn here.
I actually have an example of that. So Nubtub said up a little bit farther. So for example, someone picks Genji Thrall and the other team has Sonya, then Genji can help engage Sonya if she is out of position. Thrall has a build that beats Sonya in lane. I will just say that.
What build is it? I like Thrall a lot. What build beats Sonya in lane?
If you take follow through on level 7, you can beat her in lane.
I always take follow through. I feel like follow through is like a must for Thrall.
Usually you want ancestral Wrath, I think it's called. Yeah. It puts more pressure on tanks in team fights.
You just pop, like, if there's a Diablo, you just pop it on him as you fight.
Yeah.
And then like Thrall, if there's a Diablo with like full souls on the enemy team and he engages and Thrall's like half HP and he pops Ancestral Wrath on that Diablo, he's basically full health. And he just starts running at the back line and he constantly gets ticked up to like full health because the Diablo percent health is just ticking on him.
Mm.
It's ridiculous.
Even with block, it's build dependent. Nubtub.
Yeah.
It's always dependent on the enemy's build. If she doesn't take tough as nails, then yeah, you can beat her in lane with follow through. If she does take it, I would probably explore other options as far as what you need to do.
I would probably just take Ancestral Wrath and wait for team fights.
Yep, exactly. Unless it's super important that you beat Sonya in lane. But it's all comp dependent.
Right. If we're going into the nitty gritty of that certain scenario, she has tough as nails. You're not going to win that lane, but it's really dependent. Like if you win your lane, you need to call for a gank. Get that done.
Yeah, communication is key with this game. You can't just sit there and assume that people are going to, know exactly your every move. That's very selfish and not team oriented. So the more you can communicate in this game, the more advantage you're going to have over your the opposing team. What was I gonna say? And also just constantly looking at the minimap, knowing where the enemy team is at all times. What Shot said is definitely look at your minimap more than your actual map, or more than the actual map itself. What's one of the hardest problems in Hero League? When people don't respond to pings. Yeah, watch your replays. Yeah, LDAP TV says definitely. Watch your replays. If you want to learn, if you want to get better, watch your replays and allow yourself to recognize your mistakes. The one thing that you will do wrong is you will constantly blame everybody else, even though you were out of position, just because it's really hard to accept the fact that you yourself make mistakes, because everybody feels that they know more about the game than the next person.
Well, even if you are right, like if you're correct in a scenario and like your teammate messes up and it is their fault and you still die, like there is probably something that you could have done better in that situation. Like I could have positioned slightly to the left so I wouldn't have got hit by that flame strike, or I could have been hitting a different target, or I could have just left my teammate to die because he went in by himself instead of trying to fight blindly.
Sometimes that is the best option. Just let them die.
Just let them die. Yeah, it's very common for one of the healers or myself on a team to try and save an enemy team or a teammate. Probably in maybe like 85% of the time, the best thing to do is just let them die, because you'd rather have one dead than three or your entire team. So I hate to say every man for themselves on a team-oriented game, but if that situation comes up, then definitely, if you know the person is going to die, and just let them die. That's like the best thing you can do. Sheej says, in Hero League, when you're down a talent tier and your team still keeps trying to team fight, is it better to try to soak or go with them?
If your full team is trying to team fight, yeah, it's probably better to go with them. Like we said earlier, if you were here, it was a team following a bad call is better than one player following the right call.
Yeah. Watching replays is a nice sentiment for lower tier players, but there comes a point where your game knowledge isn't enough to really improve. And that's what we're here for. We are here.
Also, Nightmare continues further down, says, don't be afraid to ask for help from higher tier players. A lot of them are willing to help. A lot of us just like nerding out and talking about the game.
Yeah.
So,
that's why
if you just like whisper us or like send us a DM on Twitter, a lot of times we'll just be like, sure, let's fucking talk. Like, I'm down.
That's why I create. Oh, go ahead, Kubie.
I do free community coaching as well.
And a lot of
players that want it.
A lot of pros and coaches give out coaching as well.
Yeah, that's why I created this, because basically how this started was I was sitting at the breakfast table with Benjamin, my boyfriend, and we were just sitting there talking about certain scenarios and what's the best thing to do in this team fight, or, oh my god, my games were so bad last night, blah, blah, blah. Basically just like pouring our heart outs at our Hero League woes. And I thought to myself, I'm like, this should be a show. We should do this. The only shows that I know that are out there are when people talk about new releases for heroes, and they just talk about how to build heroes. Nothing about how to actually play the game. So that's how that's how Eye of the Storm came to be, so that I can get pros and veteran players to talk with you guys about the best scenarios, about the best strategies, and how to apply those strategies to different maps, because, Heroes has different maps, and not every strategy will work with every single map. So that's what we're here to help you guys. And like I said, Kubie and Shot, Kubie offers free coaching. Shot, their information is all on the screen. So,
I offer not free coaching.
He offers not free coaching. If you want to pay him, you can. No. If you see a very bad fight occurring, V is your friend. Yeah, just, I don't know. I hate spamming my pings, though. I feel like every time, so one of the things that I've noticed is that if I do ping somewhere, like, the alert ping, like danger ping, someone will immediately go face check that area. And I'm like, no, that's not what that ping means. That ping means they might be there, don't go there, or we should wait and go as a team. So like, I feel like the meaning of certain pings kind of gets, lost in translation, kind of.
I mean, if you're able to type really fast, you can probably explain that relatively easily. However, a lot of times people will see pings as like toxic. It's like, oh, if like I ping someone 4 times to like retreat, they'll be like, I know, shut up. And it's like, okay, sorry. But what I've found to kind of be my rule is like when I ping, if I ping maximum of 2 times, like in succession, means like urgency, but I'm not going too overboard with my pings where people start getting annoyed.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I found like my sweet spot is like 2 pings in quick rapid succession.
Yeah. Don't annoy your teammates. That'll tilt
I just type
Or-
it. Don't go there, please.
Or you could be like Nightmare and just danger ping me when I'm dead. Be like, by the way, you should be careful there. It's dangerous up there.
Danger shot is dead. I like when more awesome. Oh, people get swords. You should be danger. Does anybody else have any questions? Anybody? I always spam ping when I'm pinging into an engagement as a tank. Nobody's
Oh,
given
that's
me.
fine. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
pinging a certain like character, that means like that's who you're targeting, and the enemy team should or your teammates should be paying attention.
Yeah, it like if we have a Morales on the enemy team, I'll ping the Morales, being like, because the ping on the hero, I think they updated the graphic because it's more directional now. It's actually like you can actually notice what hero you're pinging in the most difficult situation. It's really good. What can be done with a teammate? Wait, what can be done when a teammate makes a troll draft pick? I would say if they pick it, sorry, if they pick it early, draft around it. If they pick it late,
Just gotta roll with it.
just gotta work with
Yep.
what you have. Work with what you have and make the best of that situation. If someone is constantly dying or throwing, babysit them. Follow them around everywhere. You make sure they do not die. So, go ahead, Kubie. Were you gonna say something?
That's really like comp dependent as well. Like, did they last pick Gazlo? Do you already have like,
Do you have Glogan on your team?
yeah, is Glogan on your team? Like, like, just look at the hero and their strengths. Like, okay, let's say you have like a Gazlo last pick and you have like a standard comp for the rest of your other heroes. Gazlo is good at zone control with turrets. He doesn't have a really good reliable stun, but you can still work with it if you work around its timing. He does a lot of melee damage. Gives them the clamps.
Mm-hmm. Clampies. Look at shot.
Excuse you?
Oh no.
Gives them the
Oh,
clamps.
there was a naked person.
He's got shorts on. It's fine.
Fair.
But there's a way to work around any hero.
Yeah. What's a good method for deciding first pick? Do you pick a hero that fits well with the map, or do you pick a hero that's difficult to counter? What are some good heroes to be first pick?
First pick now is kind of, I don't know. It's Genji is usually a safe first pick because he gives you roam potential.
He's good
On
in
your
almost
comp.
every single composition.
Yeah,
What
and
about
he's especially good on lane maps.
what about
Yeah.
Greymane? I usually feel like Greymane's a no. Really?
No.
Don't first pick Greymane.
Oh, I do that all the time. Whoops. I guess it doesn't
There's-
matter in silver.
There's just so much there's just so much damage that does enough where it's like you first pick Greymane, but then you just gave up priority on tank support, like all this different stuff. Whereas like Greymane could be
Mhm.
replaced by any number of damage dealers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Greymane's like not worth it. You want your first pick to be a unique character that accomplishes a specific goal or strengthens your team in a certain way that other characters cannot.
So what would be a good example?
Genji, Garrosh,
Bayev.
Maev, Medivh if you're like super good at Medivh. Lunara right now, arguably, I would say is pretty okay for first pick in Hero League, just because she thrives in chaos, and Hero League is mostly not synergized players,
Mhm.
so you can just get away with being dumb.
It's
Don't
also
be dumb though. Try to
it's
be
also
smart.
map dependent too, though.
Yeah.
Like, let's say it's Braxis. Like, Murden is a really solid pick on that map. Genji is an incredibly good pick on that map. Any roamer or ganker is really good on that map. That can be a viable first pick. like Maiev, Genji, a global if you want to use that too as a ganker.
Yeah. How can lower league players take lessons from the wildly different HGC games we watch into our own Hero League games? That's a good question.
I think that comes down to being able to analyze what they're doing. So
And like why they're
looking-
making those decisions and stuff.
exactly, like why is the Garrosh sitting in this bush? Where is the enemy team? What are they trying to accomplish with this play? Like analyze it.
Because I mean,
That's the best way.
yeah, that's a good thing because in pro games you can see both teams, so you can kind of guess each team's strategy and like say, okay, the red team's there, so if I were the blue team, what would I do now? And see if I mean, each strategy is different, but see if your strategy is similar to what the blue team does. When to pick Abathur?
Always.
Illidan.
I'm just
When
kidding.
you have an Illidan on your team. Illidan or a Tracer?
Abathur is good at a couple different things. First, he's really good at macro. You've got global presence at all times with his hat. He can duo soak lanes if he's a higher skilled Abathur. He also really enables comps that are good at roaming. So like having like a Tracer or a Genji with an Abathur is really devastating because that's now like 2 heroes diving on your Vala instead of 1.
Like how you say Vala. Poor Vala. She's so irrelevant now.
Yeah, she is.
Poor Vala.
I mean, there's just better versions of her. I don't know.
know.
Yeah.
It sucks. Better, like, why pick Vala when you can pick Hanzo?
When I can pick Hanzo or Phoenix or anything.
Yep.
Rework Vala. Rework Vala.
Or just give her number buffs. Like,
Yeah.
Make her OP.
I don't think she needs a rework. I really think she just needs number buffs.
Number buffs, yeah.
I don't know which number buffs. I'm not a game dev or a balance team, so
Yeah, but you
I
can
mean,
provide
I could
insight.
theory craft it very easily if I wanted to like sit down and be like, what would benefit? That would take a little bit, and we don't have time.
We need a Vala again in Calamity Li Ming.
Wait,
Oh no.
wait, Calamity Li Ming where she could clear waves with it. Bring that back.
Wait, remember when
Yeah.
her orb used to be able to pull the enemy
That's
heroes
the
towards
old
him?
one. Yeah,
Yes.
the talent's broken.
That was terrifying.
Okay, so I've always had this thought. I've always wanted games to have a vanilla server where all the characters are in the game, but as they were on release.
Oh, that would be fun.
And like the game is like basically like how it was initially, but also add in every new character as they get released.
That would be interesting.
That would be fun.
There'd be so many OP heroes.
Yeah, that's the point. It would be so ridiculous. It would be Dota 2 at that point.
Genji, Tracer, Li Ming, Maiev.
Which,
I think it would be rad. Or like make it a brawl.
yeah, there you go.
I don't know.
Which hero do you think will be announced Monday, and what battleground? Ooh, I want May. It's snowing on the launcher.
Yeah.
May has ice, which turns into snow. Could possibly, if it's in the sky. May. I want May. It'll be fun.
She
She's-
also shoots snow, by the
She also
way.
shoots snow. But I mean, like, she's so May would be very similar. I feel like her wall would be similar to Tassadar's wall.
Next hero's Jaina.
Jaina? Wait, what? Jaina. Toxic.
Definitely
Roy's
Jaina.
toxic. I don't even know. I couldn't even begin to guess what map unless they just rework. They just do the reworked Hanamura.
I want Arathi Basin. Thank you.
Ooh. Do you think it'll be another
Nightmare says
Overwatch
it'd
hero?
be weird with 5 capture points.
Oh no.
If the three of you could each take out one hero from the game, which would it be? Tracer.
Wow, that was
Tracer.
instant.
I hate Tracer.
You were
Anybody?
even yelling at Viper.
I know. Do you remember that? Anybody who comes to my stream knows I absolutely hate Tracer.
I'd probably remove Cho'Gall.
He doesn't get a lot of action.
No, he's just annoying when you come across him.
Garrosh.
Oh
Wait,
no!
I'll remove my baby. Hello?
I would remove Garrosh.
Are you sure you don't want to remove Tyrande and her many owls? Ouch,
Wait, Tyranda's the best character.
She is the best character.
You?
Okay, but do you guys remember? Like, I had
The
nightmares.
Fae? Yes, I
I had
remember Fae.
nightmares. I see owls coming at me in my sleep.
I would, if I were to expand that question, I'd remove every character that's designed to split push.
Oh no. Zool.
I'd get rid of Zool, Zagara, Asmodan.
You mean all
Yes.
specialists?
Yes,
All
basically.
specialists.
Not
Abathur
Sylvanas.
can stay. Sylv can stay because she's garbage.
Not my Sylvanas. Bring back double promote
Like-
meta, please.
Even Murky can stay, but like Gazlo, Samuro.
I hate.
Asmodan.
Okay, Samaro has started to become the bane of my existence because he is starting to become more often played in silver, and it's nobody knows how to play against him. Is either
Gazlo?
no Samaro?
Oh, Samura. I thought you said Gazlo. I'm like, what?
That I might have
Really
said
good with his
Gazlo.
clones.
Is Eye of the Storm a weekly event? Yes, it'll be every Saturday at 11 a.m. Today we did 10:30 because Tangent couldn't make 11, so we pushed it back a half hour. But it'll be every Saturday at 11 a.m.
Shot's not getting invited back after these Sylv comments. Probably not.
But so be prepared on, if you follow me on my Twitter, I will tweet out closer to maybe midweek. You guys will be able to tweet at me or DM me any questions that you might have or any topics that you specifically want us to focus on the next week. And we will take those into consideration, and we will pick a time out during the stream to talk about specific topics and questions that you guys have. What would you like to see in Jimmy's rework? Is Jimmy getting reworked?
Yes, he is. They've stated that he's getting a rework soon.
Ah, interesting.
I'm really excited about it because he's been bad for so long.
Yep.
Yeah.
Except for when he was broken because of the glitch. But
You mean you didn't like the Thrall Diablo Raider meta?
no.
Wait,
Unless-
wasn't
Not at
that
all.
was that the glitch on his alt?
Yeah, where
Yeah.
it was old god giant killer and seasoned marksman stacks.
It feels
Makes
bad.
sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
If you
That
make
was a fun
it
meta.
if you make it an audio podcast, I promise to include it in the weekly podcast review. We are going, that's our plan. This is our first episode. We plan on uploading the audio to a podcast feed, and we also plan on uploading this to HeroesHype YouTube. So you guys can go back, and if you missed anything, you guys can go back and watch the show or listen. Clearly, we should discuss the excellent gameplay of custom matches with 300% damage taken. 300% damage taken. Oh my gosh. Am I the only one who sees Xmas tree in the background? Okay. Kubie?
Kubie.
What?
Kubie. everybody's been constantly talking
don't
about you.
take it down. It'll
I'm
be your
not-
thing.
I'm not taking it down.
It's your gimmick now.
Where can I follow Shot? Does he stream? All of his information is... Wait, you know who he is. If you guys want to follow...
You can follow me at twitch.tv/shot.
Walk behind Shot with a shoe on your head. Wait, does Nightmare live with you?
Lives with me.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He moved in recently. Here he comes. He's being dumb. Oh no. Where are you? Hello. Hello, big boy.
Hi, Nightmare. Bye, Nightmare. Why should I care about Shot? Okay, all right, let's... That's toxic. We're being
Lame.
toxic now.
No one cares about shot.
Do you All listen, watch other weekly Heroes shows. Yes, I constantly watch Trixler, Kid Kerrigan, when I can, when I'm not working.
I invade a lot of different streams and shows. I even like to go into the very low viewer streams and just say hi to people and meet them and talk to them.
Yeah.
It's very fun.
We're very active in the community, so we're very easily reachable if you guys have any questions, or if you want to do what do you offer, Kubie? Coaching. That's the word. Coaching.
Because I am a coach.
I need more coffee. Oh my word.
Wait, I need coffee, period. Nightmare, can we get coffee? Nice. All right.
When and how does like Alarak?
Okay.
Alarak plays similarly to Kerrigan. He catches people out of position. But his combo obviously works differently. So is the silence going to be something that is beneficial to your team, or would Kerrigan pulling them in towards your team be better? It really depends. Do you want the displacement, or do you want the combo from Kerrigan? Because remember, Alarak's W can be used to do things like push people into roots, push people into mosh pits,
push people into immortal stuns.
Yeah. Alarak, yeah, Battlefield of Eternity is a map that you'll see Alarak on a lot because of that. It just depends what you want the Alarak to do, what his function is in the team comp that you're building.
You should explain tank killers and dealing with squishy comps versus tank beefy comps for those who don't know what heroes are fat or squishy. Fat. I've never heard that term before.
You mean Azmodan and Phoenix?
So they're actually fat.
Their models are huge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are their hitboxes bigger too?
Yeah, it's really easy to put them with skill shots.
You can tell their hitbox by like the circle underneath them.
Oh yeah, that's
the circle
true.
is bigger. I mean, obviously that's not their hitbox, but it's like just like a little indicator. Yeah. Usually they're bigger.
Tank killers.
Tank
killers would be heroes like Malthael and
anything that does percentage-based damage.
Malthael, Tychus, Leoric. They put heavy pressure on front lines. Like
last night, I had a team who picked 2 tanks into a Tychus, and that didn't end well at all.
The purpose of picking a tank killer is that tank now becomes a kill target. Normally, you don't want to target tanks as their kill target because it's too hard to kill them.
Yeah.
With a hero that does percentage-based damage, like Greymane with Cursed Bullet, Tychus, that tank now becomes a target to be killed if they are out of position.
There are compositions that are purely just designed to kill the tank too.
Yep.
Where it's like you can pick like Garrosh, Malfurion, Tychus, just those 3. Garrosh throws whichever tank is in front of him, and then combos him with the knock-up immediately after. Then Malf roots that target, and then Tychus just sits there and chips away at their health. And usually they're around half HP. Sometimes you can throw a Greymane into that composition, so right when they get thrown, you bullet them, and then like if you're going bullet, you shouldn't be going bigger they are. You should be going in the rhythm. But now I'm getting into nitty-gritty like analytical dumb stuff. So
no, it's not dumb. It's not dumb at all. It's not dumb at all. I plan on having Math of the Storm come on here and talking about all the numbers and all of the math behind Here's the Storm. So if the other team picks a tank if the other team picks a tank killer and the tank becomes a kill target, how should the tank adjust his play? That's really good. Oh, Shot, you're subbed, by the way. 8 gifted you a sub to me. Thank you.
Hey, I'm the best.
Tank...
You're so welcome.
Thank you,
I
8.
did it all by myself. Thanks,
the
8.
Tank should always be thinking, if I do this, am I going to die? If I do this, am I going to get out-traded? It's the exact same scenario as any other time you would want to step up as a tank. Am I going to be punished for what I am about to do? That is what you should always be thinking.
I had a lot of aggressive Diablos last night, and it ended up him getting killed and us being left without a tank and then just getting blown up. Is any hero with Giant Killer considered a tank killer? Depends
No.
on the situation.
No.
I guess, like, if you don't have a tank killer, then go Giant Killer? Maybe?
Yeah. I mean, like, okay, so
If they have 2 tanks.
to argue against that statement just as a whole, say they have Cho'Gall, right? The biggest, beefiest health pool in the game. We need a tank killer. Someone with Giant Killer. Falstad. What? Like, Falstad's not going to do anything to Cho'Gall.
Even though he has
Yeah.
Giant Killer?
Even though he has Giant Killer. Like, he'll die before he even gets, like, 3 autos off.
Because
Yep.
he's so squishy.
He's just not designed to kill tanks and stand that close to people. Sure, Giant Killer's like the go-to on that tier just because like it's really nice to have. But like tank killers are like Greymane with his Bullet, Tychus, Mathael. Mostly like percent damage that's built into their kit are the characters that are considered tank killers.
So then why would Falstad have Giant Killer?
Just in case he needs it.
Just in case.
Almost everybody that plays Falstad will take Giant Killer on 13. Just gives him a little extra oomph when he like goes in for kills.
Yeah.
It's that little extra damage you need to secure kills.
I mean, when it used to be Mage stat, it was Flow Rider into Aerial Gusts. But now it's more of an auto attack centric Falstad, even though he's not picked very often. When he is picked up, it's mostly auto attack because he has to lane, like solo lane, and he has to be able to sustain in that. So he goes like lifesteal and auto attack stuff.
Yep.
What changes could be made to Jimmy Raynor to make him viable? I have no idea. Do you guys have any insight?
Mobility.
Yes, mobility is his biggest weakness for sure.
Yeah. He kind of
give him a more satisfying auto attack.
Does he have any quests? I haven't played him. Does he have any
he has
quests?
Seasoned Marksman.
Seasoned Marksman. That's like the only.
That's it though.
That's his major talent that you always want to take.
Yeah, that's all he has. I don't know. He needs major talent reworks too. Like a lot of these are so basic and boring. Like almost all of his he needs a new W probably. Like there's a lot you can do with Jimmy.
I think his Q is the only ability that I actually like.
Yeah,
from his base kit.
Yeah, I think Adrenaline Rush could probably just be put on his passive instead.
Yeah.
Instead of like his increased range. I mean, just give that baseline and then put Adrenaline Rush as like his passive.
So, do you think his is his heal called Adrenaline Rush?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll mess with that at all?
I hope so.
If thinking like a dev, I don't see why they wouldn't put it in the passive slot.
Yeah.
It's literally a passive ability.
Yeah.
So I just think they're gonna move it and then add another ability.
Give him some sort of mobility.
Yeah, like a rocket dash or some shit.
A
like
rocket dash.
Like
What?
his boots like shoot fire or something. I don't know.
It's Jimmy, okay? You gotta be ridiculous with it.
Oh my goodness.
And then with his America skins, it's like red, white, and blue fireworks come back out of the dope.
All right. We have 5 more minutes. Does anybody have any more questions before we end the show? Don't worry, this will be uploaded to YouTube. It will be uploaded to a podcast feed, and there will be a show next week. Again, I will tweet out for any questions that you guys may have. Don't feel embarrassed to ask even the basic questions. How are we getting coffee?
That is a good question.
I have coffee.
I'm lame and I'm going to McDonald's.
Ew, McDonald's. What has Leoric's win rate? Why has Leoric's win rate shot up since his last patch? I don't think he got any buffs.
Leoric is really, really good at doing a couple things. So first of all, he is a solo laner. He has self-sustain with his W. So he's a little bit higher skill cap in that regard that you have to land that for your self-sustain. he has an unstoppable, which is huge. So if he gets ganked, if someone comes into the lane, he has no idea they were there. He can just E right out, and he's usually fine. He's a tank killer with his W. Not necessarily a tank killer, but he puts a lot of pressure on tanks with it. And another big thing is the synergy between his 13 and 16 talents make him a menace in team fights. Because, number one, he's reducing the damage that everyone on the enemy team is doing by 50%. He's getting a reset on his Q, which is also dealing increased damage, and he's interchanging those abilities constantly to just decimate your backline and keep you from doing anything about it.
Sounds really scary. I'm gonna have to start playing Leoric. Sounds fun.
I personally really like Leoric.
You like him?
Can I link something that happened to me the other day in regards to my coffee?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
What would make Valera better? I know her kit is one of the strongest because she has a lot of shutdown and disable, but also because she is revealed, she is very vulnerable. You just gotta have to be patient with her, I guess.
Valera has a place in Hero League. She's a roamer and a ganker. So if you're good at manipulating vision, she can be very powerful. So that an enemy team doesn't see you, etc. But most of the time, Zeratul is just better in that slot. He's the exact same thing she is, but he has an escape and she does not, and he has better team fight and she does not.
Yeah. I feel like. Go ahead.
Nothing. I was just reading out loud like a moron.
You can read. You're allowed to read.
I can. May I, though?
Can't. Yes, you may.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Why is Zarya still bad?
I think Zarya still has a place.
Zarya's good. I like her.
Zarya fits that. So there are a handful of heroes that fit a support role, not a healer, but a support role. That's Zarya, Tassadar. I would say Abathur is 50-50, depending on how you pick him, and Tyrande. So Zarya and Tassadar are kind of like the same hero, but not really. They both give support through shielding. The reason why Tassadar is generally better where Zarya isn't is because Tassadar can clear waves faster and has team fight potential. Well, Zarya does too, but Tassadar also has an escape. Tassadar is just, I think, better designed for that role than Zarya is in most cases.
Tassadar's escape is very infuriating.
Yes, it is. Oh yes, Medivh is considered support as well.
He should be labeled as a ranged assassin.
Yeah.
Medivh? Yeah.
Mhm.
What is he labeled as again?
He is a specialist.
Specialist.
How is he a specialist, though?
Just because they label specialists as characters that aren't standard. So anything that brings in a new mechanic is going to be considered a specialist.
Protected, by the way.
Yeah, the protected mechanic.
And portals. The portals make him unique.
Petition to have Nightmare on the next episode to tell his side of the story.
But yeah, I think Zarya is fine. She's still viable. You just have to know where to pick her. A lot of heroes are like that. You have your pool of meta heroes, and then you have your pool of off meta heroes that can be picked in certain situations.
Yeah, guys. The best composition that you should run in Hero League today is Zarya Butcher over and over and over again.
With Tyrael.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't pick Butcher. He was nerfed way too hard. He's not a real character anymore.
I feel like when Shot is trolling, his voice changes.
What?
Yeah, I can feel it. Like, I know exactly when you're trolling because your voice changes.
Shot doesn't troll.
I would never troll. Not once in my whole life have I trolled.
Shot is a wholesome human being.
Shot never trolls. Argy got your back. So does Kubie.
See,
apparently.
Argy and Kubie know me IRL, so they know that I'm not a troller. I'm a very serious person, and I'm always straight to the point, and I'm all business all the time.
All the time.
In your sweatpants.
I'm wearing shorts right now.
Okay.
First off.
All right, guys. Well, I think that's it for us. It was a very good first episode. We had a very good turnout. Thank you, Kubie and Shot, for stepping in at last minute. I appreciate that so much. Shot.
No problem. It's fun.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too.
Again, I know I said this twice already. This will be the third time, but we will be uploading this to YouTube, uploading it to a podcast feed. The next episode will be next Saturday at 11 a.m. All of the information will be tweeted out with HeroesHype and myself on my Twitter. Follow my Twitter for updates. Follow Shot, Kubie, and Broken Tangent. Hit them up if you guys have any other questions. I will definitely be putting up that Twitter post soon to ask you guys if you have any certain topics you would like us to discuss during the show. Otherwise, we will just keep progressing, talking about different strategies for Here's the Storm and getting more into the nitty-gritty details as we continue the shows. But thank you guys. Is there any last things you guys want to say? Any shout outs, any information you want to give any of people in chat? No, nothing. I mean, all your information is on the screen, so there's nothing really to tell.
Follow me where it says to follow me.
Shout out to Shots. All right, guys, thank you so much. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you next Saturday. Bye, guys. Everybody say goodbye. Bye.
Bye.